Everyone, Johnny Skywatcher here. So, in my YouTube feed, I keep seeing a lot of videos on this Gotham High comic. I guess probably because I watched one video and the YouTube algorithm just keeps suggesting it. And so if you're not familiar with what Gotham High is, it's a graphic novel which basically takes the Batman mythos and just does something completely different with it that comic book fans, of course, are completely enraged by, which is kind of funny in its own way. This is basically Crazy Rich Asians crossed with Gossip Girl, that kind of CW teen romance show, but with some Batman and Batman-inspired characters. So, of course, this is exactly this kind of thing that the comic book YouTubers who are ranting about SJW and all that sort of stuff is completely enraged by and making dozens of videos about. So, I don't know. The thing about this is it's at some point it seems to me like if you're changing a property so much, you should just kind of do your own thing. I get it in this marketplace. You have a lot of properties like this where basically the author is doing their completely own thing, but then they got to put some sort of spin on it that is related to a property in order to sell it. And one thing I want to go to is actually a quote from, I think this is this a quote? Yes, this is quoting the writer. Let me see, what is her name? Let me look up her full name. And I can't find it where it says. Melissa de la Cruz. I'm not familiar with her at all. I guess she's a YA author. And one thing I've noticed that she says that I haven't seen any of the videos talk about is when DC approached me to do a Batman YA, they wanted me to do a whole new take on the characters and give all the authors working in the YA line the freedom to reimagine the characters as we saw fit. Now, a lot of times in these YouTube videos I see, they're not necessarily directly blaming her for it, but sometimes it comes across a little bit like that. It seems pretty clear to me that DC approached this person who is not involved in writing comic books at all about doing a graphic novel for a young adult line that is supposed to completely reimagine the characters. And that's what she did. So if you're going to be mad at anyone, I guess be mad at DC. But it's not like this is the new backstory for Batman, right? This is its own complete thing that may or may not have any other sequels or anything related to it. So it's not like anyone's going to pick up Gotham High and think this is the new backstory for Batman, right? This is just this completely different thing to try and sell comics to a different demographic. Now, you could argue about whether or not that would actually work. I have no idea about any of that. I don't have any statistics. So yeah, let's look at, I think this has sort of a list of some of the big changes. Like the one off the bat is obviously Bruce Wayne is now Asian. I think, I don't know if this article says it, but I think it said the author basically was just thought, hey, wouldn't it be if this character was Asian instead? And they kind of just ran with it. It sort of seems like they were just basing it off of doing a sort of Crazy Rich Asians thing with it, which to me, I don't think it's inherently bad. The idea of reimagining the characters in a completely new light is one thing. It does kind of seem like these characters, once you reimagine them all completely differently, you could easily just change the names and have a completely different story. But this is, of course, something people are also very upset about. Is Alfred is now a gay character, because when you reimagine characters, you can't reimagine their sexuality, because that's a big no-no for comic book fans for some reason. Well, I mean, really, they're against all reimaginings and changings of things. So I don't. The thing I don't get is if you don't care about this, if you don't think this is a good idea, why are you upset about this? I mean, at most, I don't really care about this. I'm not going to read it, certainly. Let's see, it's that $13 on Kindle. I'm not going to pay $13 to read this, but I don't really care, and I don't. That's the one thing I don't quite get about people making these YouTube videos, getting so upset about this, is sort of the anger. I don't know if some of that may be just exaggerated because they're doing a video and they're trying to get clicks, but it's just, I don't know, it's not that helpful. I don't really have anything else to say about this. It's just like a kind of a shrug from me. I am almost a little genuinely interested in reading this, and if it was included in my Kindle Unlimited reading, I would actually read this and review it, but I'm not going to pay $13 to read it. And I'm not going to go through other more nefarious means to try to find a copy of this in order to review it either. So if you have an opinion about this, let me know what you think. What do you think about other people's reactions to this? I was trying to find like some sort of poll or something to say like, well, what is the general consensus of people? Or let me look through the reviews on Amazon right now. I was looking through a couple of these. Of course, you got the first one is 1 star. Wonder how many fake reviews there are, because this is one SJW-centered piece of work. Had an awful time trying to get through it. Wow, what a very helpful review. Basically, they said they didn't like it, and the main thing they say is SJW, right? I hate that sort of mentality. It's just so simple-minded. It doesn't. Why didn't you like it? Who knows? They just SJW. It's just like it's irritating just to keep seeing people just say SJW and put no thought process behind why they did or didn't like something. They just point out anything that has that's changed from the way they see it should be and made more diverse, and they just say SJW. I don't know if the writer kind of justified the changes in the work itself. That is not to say that they need to justify changes that they made, but in the work itself, do the changes feel like they're grounded in the storytelling, that there's a reason why it does or does not work? Sometimes in a work of fiction, you can make a change that really does affect how the story is seen or how the characters are seen. And so that, in that case, I would say if they do it that way, it can be more justified as, okay, this works as something, as a way to change it. Like, why, if Bruce Wayne is Asian, does that actually change anything about the story? Or is this just a, kind of, he's exactly the same, but for some reason he's Asian? It should change something about his character. And that would be one interesting that I'd be interested to know is do these changes actually reflect anything different about the characters, or is it just purely surface level? Oh, you have one positive review here. Modern story with diverse characters. Fun reimagining. Interesting new take. I think I saw one that said a weird beginning to hear this one. I haven't read too many Batman comics, but I was really excited when DC Inc. contacted me to review Gotham High early. I guess maybe this person does a lot of reviews. Well, look at their Christie Confessions of a YA Reader. They read along a lot of young adults. So, of course, with this kind of book, they want this person to review it because they read YA a lot. But in defense of that, they would definitely be the target audience for this book. Fun reimagining, interesting new take. Anyway, so not everyone seems to hate it. The reviews, 3.1 out of 5. You have more 4-star than 5-star. It's pretty decent. And you got that. See, how many 1-star reviews do you have? 4 1-star reviews. It's almost like the writer did zero research about any of the characters. Now, there's one thing that does seem fair to say, because it does seem like this writer doesn't know anything about Batman characters. She was asked to write, if she wanted to write a comic book with using DC characters and reimagining them. And it kind of seems like Batman's the only comic book character she's at all familiar with, and so she kind of went with that. And she even says, so I knew Batman and Batwoman. So I knew Batman and Catwoman had sexual tension, but I didn't know the entire history of their relationship. But I loved that about them, and so I wanted my Bruce and Selina to have... She doesn't even say, it kind of almost sounds like there could have been some research there, but it doesn't really seem like she did any research into the characters. So that's one reason why comic book fans are so mad about this. But do you really need to do a whole lot of research when you do a reimagining? I mean, there had to be some level, because if you have all these reimagining of the characters, if she didn't know Batman characters at all, would she even be familiar with characters like Commissioner Gordon and like Barbara Gordon? I mean, Barbara Gordon hasn't been in the movies, really, right? Batgirl was in Batman and Robin, but she wasn't even Barbara Gordon. It was wasn't she related to Alfred Pennyworth in that movie, I think? So, I mean, at least some surface level research or something, probably. So yeah, let's see what this review says. Sigh. I'm all for trying new things, but when something like this strays so far from the source material that the characters are recognizable by name only, then you've strayed too far. This is not a Batman story, just a story with some characters that share the same names and nothing else. Yeah, that is one thing. It does seem like it's not really anything to do with Batman. It's changed so much that you could easily call it something else. The biggest thing is, obviously, just from a glance of the idea itself, is Gotham High. He's not Batman. He's not a superhero. This is a YA novel starring Bruce Wayne, a dark and brooding guy. But that could easily be anyone, any rich kid whose parents were killed off. That's a very blank backstory, and I don't see why that needs to be specifically Bruce Wayne. What I don't understand is that instead of race swapping and making certain characters black, Asian, or gay, why not write some stories with DC characters that already fit those slots? DC has gay characters, black characters, and Chinese characters. Why not write some stories about them instead of doing things like this? Arguing that no one will buy these books, blah, blah, blah. Now the gay part, I think, is mostly directed to what they've done with Alfred, which um, I guess he's not. I guess he's not gay in the main line of comics books, but he's basically asexual, isn't he? He's never with anyone, so I don't think it really changes anything to make him gay other than to actually give him a sex life. And I think that is one thing with the Batman mythos that I think people are always trying to update or change in different adaptations is the fact that, people don't have butlers anymore. I mean, usually there's some sort of thing of modern adaptations where Alfred was part of the military, and then he went to work for Wayne, or there was even a Alfred Pennyworth series. I think that's season 1 that actually I heard was not terrible. I don't know if they're going to make a second season of that at all, but that had that same sort of backstory of he was involved with the military, and then he ends up involved with the Wayne family somehow. Anyway, that's a whole different discussion. So that's Gotham High. Yeah, it's kind of just a big shrug for me. I don't quite get the hate over it, but I don't think anyone is super in love with it either. So it's kind of like a shrug.